I was sitting in the break room at work, staring into the half-empty vending machine like it held answers. My coffee had gone cold, and the stale taste was starting to burn the back of my throat. I hadn't slept the night before again. Every muscle in my body ached, not from work, but from stress. Mental knots that kept pulling tighter each day. This wasn't how marriage was supposed to feel. We've been married for just over 2 years now. Her name's Claire. When we met, she had this quiet, warm energy about her, like being near her could slow the world down. That's what I told myself anyway. She had a daughter, Mia, 12 at the time, bright kid, a little sarcastic, but who isn't at that age? I figured, okay, I can do this. I'm not trying to replace her dad or anything. Just be supportive, steady. We'll figure it out. And at first, things were manageable. Not perfect, but we had dinners together, movie nights on the couch. Claire would fall asleep on my chest halfway through. Mia would complain about my popcorn rules. It felt like I was becoming part of something. That's the thing. You don't notice the shift until it's already happened. It started with little things. Claire brushing off plans we made because Mia needed a night with her mom. Cold shoulders when I brought up things that bothered me. Subtle digs. But the real change came when Mia turned 14 last fall. It was like someone flipped a switch in her. Overnight, she went from occasionally snarky to full-on cruel. She'd mock the way I dressed, laugh at how I folded laundry, turn up the music when I was on work calls. If I called her out, Claire would swoop in instantly, furious on her daughter's behalf. She's just expressing herself, Claire would say, like that was supposed to excuse Mia calling me a parasite during dinner. I thought maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. Maybe I didn't understand teenagers. So I kept trying. I offered to help with her school projects, tried to learn the shows she liked, asked questions. Every attempt was shut down. Mia once told me to my face that the only reason I was around was because her mom got lonely, and I should just enjoy it while it lasts. Claire laughed. I don't think I'll ever forget that sound. Not just because it stung, though it did, but because of how casual it was. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Still, I pushed through. That's what you do when you've committed to someone, right? You push through. Then came the night of the burned pasta. Yeah, I know how that sounds. But burned pasta is what started the real unraveling. Claire had asked me to cook dinner since she was running late from a massage appointment, something she started doing weekly, even though we could barely afford the bills. I was trying to get a million things done at once, emails, dishes, cleaning up dog puke in the hallway, and I forgot to turn off the burner. The pasta turned into this black, charred mess stuck to the bottom of the pot. When they walked in, the smoke alarm was blaring. Mia burst into this exaggerated coughing fit like I'd tried to poison her, and Claire, seeing the mess, just lost it. You can't even boil water, and I'm supposed to believe you're a real man? That was her actual sentence. I stood there, dish towel in hand, frozen. Mia was laughing hysterically behind her, and for the first time, I didn't just feel small. I felt invisible. That night, I slept on the couch. Not because Claire told me that she never had to. The tension wrapped around the bedroom like razor wire. I wasn't about to crawl into that trap. When I woke up the next morning, Mia's sketchbook was on the coffee table. I flipped through it out of curiosity or maybe just a desire to feel included. On one of the pages, there was a rough drawing of me with exaggerated features, a weak chin, hunched shoulders, cartoonish bags under my eyes. Above it, she'd written, "Stepdad the Spineless." I should have been angry. Instead, I just felt tired. I took a picture of the drawing. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof that it wasn't all in my head. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Mia's grown bolder. She started locking the doors when I needed to grab something from the shared bathroom. She moved my work bag into the garage and claimed it must have fallen there. She leaves dishes on my side of the bed. Claire's explanation? You're imagining things. Stop trying to make her out to be a villain. The same night she said that, I found my toothbrush in the toilet. I didn't confront them. I didn't say a word. I just stared at it for a long time, then threw it away. Last night, Claire came home late, again. I was brushing my teeth with the spare I'd bought and hidden in the garage when she walked in. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, and watched me through the mirror. Her eyes were dull, cold. You're starting to look tired, she said. I didn't respond. Then, she stepped forward, lowered her voice, and said it. I hope you're not waiting for things to get better. This is better. That's when I knew. Something in me clicked. Or maybe cracked. I'm not even sure I recognized the sound at first, but it echoed through me like a bell. I dried my hands and walked past her without a word. This morning, I called in sick to work and drove to a nearby park. Sat in my car and just stared at the people jogging, walking dogs, laughing. Like the world still made sense out there. Like other people lived in stories that didn't turn into nightmares one comment at a time. Then I pulled out my phone and started typing this. I don't know if I'm crazy or if this is normal. All I know is something's wrong, deeply wrong. And I'm done pretending it isn't. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove 2 hours north to a small motel off the highway. The kind with flickering signs and carpets that smell like 1987. I paid cash, no ID, and left my phone in the glove compartment with the battery removed. For the first time in a long time, I felt untraceable. I slept like the dead. No nightmares. No creaking floorboards or late-night door slams. Just silence. The kind that seeps into your bones and wrings out the fear. The next morning, I checked my phone, 6 missed calls from Claire, from Mia. No voicemails. Just silence there, too. That told me more than if they'd screamed at me. They didn't care where I was. They cared that they couldn't control it. That day, I started something new. A document on my laptop called The Ledger. In it, I started logging everything. Dates. Incidents. Quotes. I added pictures of bruises I'd written off as accidents, screenshots of texts Claire had sent me where she'd called me deadweight or excess inventory. I even included a photo of the pasta pot from that night, because weirdly, that image stuck with me, like proof of a failed peace treaty. By the time I returned home 3 days later, I felt sharper. Still exhausted, but with edges. Claire greeted me with cool indifference. Decided to come back? I nodded, dropped my bag by the door, and said, I had a lot to think about. Mia was watching from the stairs. Her expression unreadable. We didn't speak much that night. Claire stayed glued to her phone. Mia stayed glued to her mother. And me? I stayed glued to my new awareness. 2 nights later, the twist came. It started with the dog. We have a dog, had a mutt named Ranger. I brought him into the relationship. Found him during a storm 3 years ago, shivering behind a dumpster near my old apartment. He was my shadow, always following me around the house, curling up near my feet when I worked, whining outside the door if I took too long in the shower. When Claire and I first moved in together, she tolerated him. Barely. Said his fur got everywhere. Said his bark made her anxious. Mia was even worse. She would purposely tease him, tug his tail, hide his toys. I had to set rules. But Claire's rules always overrode mine. So when I came home that evening and didn't hear Ranger's usual greeting, I knew something was off. Where's Ranger? I asked, already dreading the answer. Claire barely looked up from her wine glass. Oh, he ran off this afternoon. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, ran off? Mia, sitting beside her, smirked. We left the gate open. Oops. I went out back, yelling his name, running through the neighborhood like a lunatic, flashlight in hand. No sign. No tags turned in. I called every local shelter. Nothing. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. No words, just a photo. It was Ranger. In the backseat of a car I didn't recognize. The windows were rolled up. His eyes wide, terrified. His mouth open in that sad pant dogs do when they know something's wrong. The text came with a caption. Next time, maybe listen. I threw up in the kitchen sink. Right there, middle of the morning, shirt half buttoned for work. I didn't even try to hide it. Claire walked in, glanced at me hunched over the sink, and said, You're being dramatic. I stared at her. Really stared. And saw it. Not guilt. Not worry. Amusement. They took my dog. They took the one thing that was mine, the only living creature in that house that had ever truly loved me. They took him to send a message. I didn't confront them. I didn't shout. That part of me is gone now. The guy who rationalized, begged, hoped they buried him somewhere under that gate, with whatever lie they told themselves. That night, I backed up the ledger to a hidden drive, made copies, created aliases, sent encrypted backups to 2 old friends I trusted completely, without telling them what it was, just in case. Because now I know something I didn't before. This isn't about marriage anymore. This is war. The week that followed was a quiet hurricane. From the outside, everything looked the same. We still ate dinner at the same time. Claire still scrolled endlessly on her phone, glass of wine always within reach. Mia still rolled her eyes at everything I said. But beneath that paper-thin calm was something simmering. We all felt it. Like a wire pulled tight enough to hum. I didn't bring up Ranger. I didn't mention the text. I didn't ask about the gate. Claire probably thought I dropped it, that I was retreating into that old version of myself, the quiet pushover with nothing but apology in his spine. But that man was dead. Every spare minute I had, I worked on the ledger. I expanded it, screenshots of Claire's online orders, things we couldn't afford but kept showing up anyway. Shoes, skin creams, imported chocolates. I logged the time she spent on appointments and compared it with locations she left in her search history. Turns out her weekly acupuncture sessions were at a high-end hotel downtown. She'd never once come back smelling like essential oils. On Thursday, while she was getting a massage, I drove to the hotel and waited across the street in my car. Sure enough, 30 minutes later, a man I didn't recognize came out the side door with Claire trailing behind him. She looked relaxed, glowing. He said something, and she laughed. She kissed him twice. Once like a joke, then slower, deeper. They left in separate cars. I waited until she was gone before I went inside and got a coffee from the lobby just to leave a digital footprint in the same space. You know, for later. I didn't cry. I thought I might. But I didn't. I drove home in silence. Not a song. Not a podcast. Just the dull hum of tires on pavement and a new kind of emptiness where love used to live. Back home, I opened the laptop and created a new section in the ledger, affairs. But I didn't stop there. The next day, I pulled a credit report. Claire had opened 2 credit cards in my name. Small balances. Not enough to trigger alarms. But the purchases? Designer brands. A weekend getaway booked a month before our anniversary. The same weekend she told me her sister had an emergency and she needed to help her move. I checked her sister's Instagram that day. She was in Italy. The audacity was biblical. Still, I kept the mask on. I cooked dinner. I cleaned the gutters. I laughed at her coworkers' stories when she forced me to join their Zoom parties. But all the while, the noose I was building grew tighter. Stronger. Legal. I didn't want revenge. I wanted proof. Then came Mia. Friday night, Claire went out again. I told her I had work stuff to catch up on. She didn't care. She didn't even fake it anymore. Mia was in her room. I could hear her stomping around, blasting music. Then it got quiet. A few minutes later, I heard her in the kitchen, rummaging. Then the crash. I ran downstairs. She was on the floor, clutching her wrist, shattered glass everywhere. A broken jar of marinara painting the tile red. She looked up at me with wide, wet eyes. You pushed me. What? I froze. She shouted louder. You shoved me. I was just trying to get a snack. My heart dropped into my stomach. Mia, I didn't touch you. I'm calling Mom, she snapped, pulling out her phone. She went into full performance mode. He lost it again. I'm scared. He just snapped. I don't know what to do. Claire must have answered on speaker because I heard her voice scream through the room. Get out of there. I'm calling the cops. I backed away slowly, hands up like that might protect me from whatever this was becoming. I'm going to my room, I said, keeping my voice level. But instead, I went to the garage, grabbed my backup phone, the one Claire didn't know existed, and started recording everything I could remember about the setup. I took photos of the glass, Mia's uninjured wrist, the untouched steps tool she had obviously knocked over herself. I scrolled through the security cam app I'd installed quietly 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, one pointed at the kitchen door. I had it. Her staging. Her timing. Me, never even coming close to her. I uploaded the video to the hidden drive. Made copies. Sent one to my lawyer in the works. When Claire got home, her fury was volcanic. She came at me like I'd murdered her child. Screaming, clawing, throwing every insult she could form with her wine-stained mouth. I didn't argue. I didn't shout back. I showed her the footage. The silence that followed was deafening. Then came the shift. Her eyes narrowed. She glanced between me and the screen and muttered, "You've been spying? You've been lying," I said flatly. "We're not the same." She said nothing. Just turned and walked upstairs. For hours after, I sat at the kitchen table with a glass of water and my heart thudding like war drums in my chest. Because I knew now she knew I wasn't passive. I wasn't the easy target anymore. But the part of me that should have felt strong only felt something deeper. Fear. Because people like Claire don't lose quietly. And I wasn't done digging yet. I left the house at 3:17 a.m. Didn't pack a bag. Didn't leave a note. Just slipped out through the garage with nothing but my wallet and my second phone. The kind of exit you make when you realize staying might cost you something you can't replace. I checked into a small Airbnb under the name of a college buddy I hadn't spoken to in years. It was clean, quiet, had blackout curtains, and a bed that didn't feel like it judged me. I slept like I hadn't in months. maybe years. But that wasn't the twist. Not yet. The real twist came 3 days later, after silence. After calm. I was at a corner cafe using the free Wi-Fi, finalizing the new bank account paperwork and uploading a fresh round of documentation into the ledger when I got the message. It was a video, sent from a private Instagram account I didn't recognize. No caption, no context. I should have hesitated, should have ignored it. But curiosity is louder than caution sometimes. I pressed play. The first few seconds were black, shaky, someone covering the lens, maybe adjusting their grip. Then the audio kicked in. Familiar voices. Claire. And not just hers. My boss. More specifically, my regional manager, Rick. The same man who'd given me my promotion last year. The one who always slapped my back too hard and called Claire a smoke show whenever he saw her at holiday events. They were in a room. A hotel room, judging by the layout. Claire was holding a wine glass, barefoot, pacing. Rick was seated on the edge of the bed. I couldn't hear every word at first, but when she leaned in, it got clearer. He's not going to fight back, Claire said. He's too proud. Just like I said. Rick laughed. You think he suspects anything yet? She smirked. If he did, we wouldn't be here. Then she said something that snapped the last piece of the puzzle into place. If this goes according to plan, I get the house, the money, and I'm rid of both of you. Both of you. I replayed that part 10 times. At first, I assumed she meant Mia and me. But the way she said it, calculated, specific, told a different story. Claire was using Rick too. She'd engineered the entire thing. Me as the meal ticket, Rick as the career backup. My boss. The same man with influence over my job, my income, my reputation. The affair was a chess move. Insurance. And she was preparing to gut him too. This woman wasn't unstable. She was strategic. The video ended with her pouring another glass of wine and Rick reaching for her waist. My fingers trembled as I hit save, downloaded it 3 different ways, backed it up 6. Then I opened a new folder. Phase 2. I'd already been preparing legal separation papers with my new lawyer. But now I had something else entirely. Something nuclear. I drove straight to my lawyer's office and played him the video. He watched in silence. When it ended, he slowly took off his glasses and said, "She's not going to see this coming." "Neither is Rick," I muttered. We filed formal documentation the next day, adding workplace interference, coercion, and defamation risk to the case. My lawyer also advised me to contact HR at my company immediately, not to expose the affair, but to preemptively protect myself. Claire hadn't made a move yet, but when people like her are cornered, they lash out. Turns out, she'd already planted seeds. HR had a flagged note in my file. Anonymous reports suggesting I'd been showing signs of emotional instability and possibly aggressive behavior. They weren't pursuing it yet, but it was there. That broke something in me. Not because it surprised me, but because of how thorough she'd been. It was all calculated. She tried to set me up to look dangerous. The fake fall Mia staged. The missing dog. The toothbrush in the toilet. All of it was to build a pattern. A breadcrumb trail that would have led straight to me being the villain. But I had the real trail. And now, I had proof that she wasn't just trying to ruin my life. She was setting the foundation to steal it. So I shifted tactics. I made copies of the video, sent one to HR with a formal disclosure statement. Another went to Rick's supervisor. A third, that one I mailed to Claire's mother. Anonymous return address. Just a flash drive with a sticky note. You should know who your daughter really is. Petty? Maybe. But necessary. By the end of the week, Rick was placed on leave. Claire lost her mind. I didn't answer her calls, but I got a delightful voicemail where she screamed for 5 solid minutes, alternating between begging and threats. And then she went quiet. That's when I knew the final stage was coming. The one where people like her stop trying to manipulate and start trying to destroy. And I was ready. Claire filed the restraining order 4 days later. I got served at my temporary address. She dug through enough of my digital footprints to figure it out. The document claimed I had a history of emotional volatility, that I'd exhibited threatening behavior toward both her and Mia, and that she feared for her safety. The irony was choking, but I didn't panic. I'd been preparing for this exact move. My lawyer responded immediately with a motion to dismiss, attaching not just documentation of my spotless record and recent therapy attendance, but also the full log from the ledger, complete with timestamps, voice recordings, and the hotel video. Especially the video. We scheduled a preliminary hearing. Claire didn't show. Instead, she sent her attorney, a wiry man with desperation in his eyes and a cheap suit that looked like it had heard a lot of bad decisions. He asked for a continuance. We agreed. But something changed that day. I could feel the tide turning. For the first time since this began, Claire was retreating. She stopped calling, stopped texting. Even Mia's social accounts went quiet. I expected more drama, more accusations, but instead, nothing. Just silence. It didn't sit right. So I dug again. I reached out to Irene, Claire's estranged sister, the one she always referred to as toxic and obsessed with drama. Irene and I had exchanged a few messages before, but this time I asked straight up, "Do you know what Claire's planning next?" She responded within the hour. "I don't know what she told you about our mom, but Claire forged her name on a will after she passed. She's done this before. She doesn't just leave. She erases." The word erases hit harder than I expected. It made sense. Claire didn't just ruin relationships. She rewrote history. She scorched the earth behind her so that nothing could trace back. I realized then what her silence meant. She was preparing to run. I checked our shared financials. Everything I hadn't closed yet. 2 large cash withdrawals, one from an ATM 2 cities over, one from a branch downtown. Combined, it was almost $5,000. She had liquidated her half of what remained, and maybe more. I also checked the house. My friend Evan, big guy, gentle soul, lives 3 blocks from our old neighborhood. Offered to swing by under the excuse of picking up some tools I'd accidentally left behind. When he got there, the house was empty. Not, "We're moving" empty. Vanished empty. Curtains down. Rooms cleared. Garage locked. Mia's posters gone. Claire's endless collection of skincare bottles vanished. Even the damn fridge was wiped clean. No magnets. No notes. Nothing. But they didn't take everything. In the corner of the master bedroom closet, hidden behind a half-loose plank of drywall that I'd patched myself months earlier, Evan found the camera I'd forgotten I installed. A battery-powered trail cam. I'd hidden it there during the peak of the broom-hitting paranoia when I thought Mia might try something again. I never even checked the footage. Honestly forgot it was there. Until now. Evan brought it to me. I popped out the SD card, hooked it to my laptop, and scrubbed through the last week of footage. What I found floored me. 2 nights before the restraining order, Claire had come home late again. She went straight to the bedroom, dragging a black duffel. She opened it. Cash, passports, multiple IDs. All of them fake. Different names, different cities. Some had her face. One had Mia's. She packed them neatly into a separate folder, then pulled out a tiny burner phone and made a call. "I'm done here," she said. "We're heading to Phoenix tomorrow. Just need a clean exit. You sure the paperwork's ready?" A pause. "No. He won't fight. He's too busy trying to be the victim." She laughed. And then she burned something. I watched her take a stack of paper, bank statements, maybe copies of my notes, I don't know, and light them in a ceramic bowl. Her face lit up in the glow, calm as ever. I stared at the footage long after it ended. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. Just clarity now. So I acted. I turned it all over to my lawyer. Filed a fraud report with the state. Notified the police of a possible identity theft operation. Sent footage to Child Protective Services flagging the passport scene. I don't know if she crossed state lines yet, but she tried to vanish. And now she was on record. Legally. Publicly. It's been 3 weeks. The house is officially listed as abandoned. Claire's work issued a formal termination. Rick, my former manager, was demoted and transferred pending internal review. HR sent me a quiet apology. My restraining order? Dismissed without contest. Claire? Last I heard, she tried to rent a short-term condo in New Mexico using one of her aliases. But background checks flagged it. The name bounced off multiple fraud alerts. She's on the run now, with a teenager in tow. No job, no assets, and the weight of everything she tried to erase chasing behind her. As for me, I'm still in the same small apartment, still sleeping better than I ever did in that house. Ranger never came back. I don't know if I'll ever forgive that, but I started volunteering at the shelter where I found him. I walk dogs there twice a week, sometimes 3. They let me name the new rescues when they come in. Last week, one arrived. Skinny mutt, scared of loud noises. Brown eyes just like Ranger's. I named him Chance. He follows me around now, the way Ranger used to. As for Mia, I don't know if I'll ever see her again. I don't know if she'll ever grow out of what her mother built inside her. But I did what I could. I survived. And the thing about surviving is, eventually, it turns into living. That's where I am now. Not healed, but free. And sometimes, that's enough.